Welcome to Slow Home. Too many people live in badly designed houses, and we want to change that.
This is day 107 of the Slow Home Project, and we need you to join us in our quest to evaluate the design quality of houses in 9 North American cities in 9 months. This week we are analyzing single-family houses in Denver, and today we're going to be doing an in-detail review of the entry question on the Slow Home test. But before we get to that, you have some things
I
you
do.
want to talk
I
about.
wanted just to remind all the Slow Home viewers and to those people who are new to the site about a couple things that are on the sidebar of the site that are really important. So the first thing is the Slow Home report, which is the in-depth analysis of all the data that the Slow Homers have collected in the Toronto area on apartment lofts, townhouses, and single-family houses. So it's a survey of the design quality of what's going on right now in Toronto, and I'd really like it if everybody could take a few minutes and read through it and then send us back their comments, because we want to go ahead and, of course, do the one for Dallas and Denver and Los Angeles, and we really like your feedback, so please take a moment and read through that.
That's right. It's also interesting because it puts into context all of the work that everybody's doing individually on Mondays and Tuesdays by finding the projects and posting them onto the website, and it contextualizes it, I think, and it's really interesting.
And also it makes I mean, it's quite valuable information that everybody has done, and I think seeing the report really makes it seem valuable and puts it into context, so I think it's really important. So the second thing is, of course, the What's Wrong with This House book, and John and I spent the last year writing this book, and it gives you a lot of interesting information about the backstory of Slow Home itself. It talks about what are the major fundamental problems in production-built housing in North America, and also says what the antidote is, what the Slow Home solution is. And it's now available for sale, so you can click on to the What's Wrong with This House link, and it'll take you to the online shopping where you can purchase a copy of it.
Which brings us to the task at hand today. What we're going to be doing is looking at an in-detail review of the entry, and just to remind everybody, the front and back entry are spaces and are appropriately scaled to the house. That's the little blurb on the Slow Home test, and Matthew's going to take us through some examples from the single-family house category in Denver to show us exactly what that means.
Yeah, and a really important thing to remember with front and back entry is we have to take a real hard line, and if the front entry is good and the back entry is bad, we actually have to score it 0. They both have to be good. And I'm going to show you some examples of good and bad. So this is an example here of a good front entry because we've got a door, we have a space where you can greet guests and take off your coats, and we have an adjacent coat closet.
That's right.
And it's reasonably sized for the house.
And that storage, just so everybody knows, that storage room is actually a potential powder room.
Correct.
If you upgraded the plan.
Unfortunately, we have an example of a bad back entry because in this entry you enter right into the kitchen.
Right into the heart of the kitchen.
Yeah, which is just not
so
very
imagine
good.
thinking, you know, boots and coats and backpacks and everything go right in front of the stove.
Exactly. Not very good. So another example here, this is an example of a good front entry again, because again we've got all the components. We've got the door, the adjacent closet, and we've got space. And here we've got a powder room right next to it. Unfortunately, we've got a similar problem with the back entry where you walk right into.
So now it's going to have the back entries are going to be sitting on the dining room table.
Yeah, which is not good. Looking at this example, again, we have a good front entry.
Yep.
And we've got a storage component in the back entry, but I would still score this one as being poor. And
it's getting there, though, right? It's kind of very minimal. At least there's a space that's a little off the kitchen.
Like there is a bit of room there, but I think with the doors, I think that's causing a bit of a
there's not enough room, but there actually is a space. It's just insufficient.
Correct. So this is an example of a back entry that I think actually would be considered to be good because you walk in from the garage, there is a space where you could take off your coats, and then you've got a closet. And also the laundry space, which often is shared with the back entry, in this case, is in its own room. So I think that one actually works pretty good. This is an example, unfortunately, of 3 entry spaces in a row. And although there are spaces, there's no closet. And also, I think there's too many.
That's right, and you've also got that deep porch in the front, and it's a little pretentious, isn't it? What about the back entry?
I don't actually mind this because I think what's important here is that the door sits in a zone that is outside of the circulation.
That's right.
So if you're standing here doing laundry and someone comes in from the garage, you're actually not going to collide with them.
That's right.
So in that case, the back entry, I think, is okay.
That's right. Of course, you still don't have a coat closet.
Nope. Here's an example of, we've got the components of the entry because we've got a space And we've got a place for our coats. However, the scale of it is
it's a little narrow,
really off and long.
All the way, yeah.
I mean, so in this case, I think I would not score this one the point.
No, and what about the back entry?
The back entry, I think, is better. I think the only thing is again, we've got this issue with the doors, and there isn't an adjacent storage. The laundry setup is okay, but it's a little tight, so I would say no on that one. So here's an example of the classic laundry room shared space back entry that is a problem. This actually does not have enough room because the doors take up the entire space where you need to stand and do laundry. So if we see these types of back entries in a single family house, we can't score the point.
Because the laundry's going to be sitting, the laundry basket will be sitting in front of the dryer, and you'll open the door and it'll be right there. What about that front entry?
Well, again, there's a couple things. The front entry in this case has a space and a closet, but the problem is the view into the living room. I think there's no separation here on this edge.
It's not really a space, is it?
It's a change in flooring. So I think that's unfortunately not a good front entry.
No, and here's the classic.
Here's the classic problem. This is the worst type of front entry you can possibly have. There's just a change in flooring, no closet, and a view right to a principal space.
Right, and the problem with that is that that window that's right at the very front, that's the best part of the room right there. That's where
the only light on the front of the house because of the
only
garage.
light, and it's right beside the door. So nobody's going to put a couch there. There's not enough room, and it's just too close. So really, all of that front part of the house becomes entry. Right. And filled with stuff, and that pushes the living room back into a part of the house that doesn't have any light.
Yeah, it's not very good.
Well, that's interesting. Those are some good examples of what not to do, and a couple of examples of what to do.
Yeah, and you know, it's really interesting, and I looked at all the plans that have been posted to the site for Denver to date. I didn't find one single house that had a good front and a good back entry. Not one.
Interesting.
So,
well, interested to know what you think about entry. So make your posts. Tell us what you think are the key issues for front entries, back entries, all entries, and tomorrow we'll be doing a review of our time in Denver for the week.
See you tomorrow.